Welcome to Brian's Action Figure Reviews. And tonight, we've got a one-off retro wrestling reviews special. Tonight, myself, Tubbs and Rich, we are going to talk about the 5-part Undertaker documentary, The Last Ride, which just finished up on Monday on the WWE Network. So, strap yourselves in, guys. We're going to chat about The Undertaker and all the stuff that was revealed and shown across those 5 episodes. Enjoy it, guys. Welcome back, everyone, to a surprise one-off issue of Brian's Action Figure Reviews, retro wrestling reviews and chat. And I'm back for a second time in a week with Rich NG and Tubbs of Tubberty. How are you guys?
Story, kids. All right, man.
So, got to give the people what they want, and they want more of us. Oh, yeah, get in there. So
and that's what you call man pretty.
So the reason we're doing this show is WWE dropped the last episode of the Undertaker documentary on Saturday or Sunday, I think. But anyway, the three of us all have been watching that. Well, the lads have been watching it week to week, and I binged the whole lot of it Monday 1 through 5. So we're going to talk about that today, and to start us off, we're going to go with Twisted Tubbs. So, Tubbs, what did you think of, first, the concept of documentary? Like, usually we get these WWE 24s, which are like 48 minutes to an hour, but The Undertaker got a 5-episode documentary, which is a bit of a first for the WWE.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it because I think The Undertaker was that one wrestler since we've all been watching wrestling that always alluded to that backstage dynamic, seeing, like behind the scenes. You never saw a lot of it. You might have got snippets here and there, but there was never a major amount of it. And it was, I think that was like, the mystique was always held up. So I think it was great to see, like, even, with his family and, to see just, back and really see how beat up he was behind the scenes of certain matches where we might, as fans, might have been like, oh my God, he looks so rough in that match. But to see, you know what I mean? Like, the behind the scenes of why and where, like, I thought it was brilliant. I really did. I just love the concept that even in the documentary he talks about, like, because he'd never pulled the veil back, that he felt that, like, he'd have nothing to look back on in years to come regarding the behind the character. I thought, like, the fact that he started the documentary as, being that, and it soon kind of led into what it became. Really enjoyed it.
Rich, what do you think?
I think it was fantastic. I mean, now don't get me wrong, like I've said these before, I'm not a huge Taker fan, but I respect the man for what he's done. Like, he's stuck with the company. I do think one of the standard kind of, what used to be, the DVD documentaries on wrestlers, one of those wasn't going to give him enough credit. Like, it needed something like this big to really justify everything that this one man has done for the WWE. As you were saying, Tubbs, like, it was so good to see the man behind the mask almost. You got that to kind of see the personal life, and to also see how much of wrestling can affect your personal life as well. So, because I think, like, if you only got like an hour documentary, it was too much to cover to cram it into kind of a short period of time. So to have over a 5-episode average, like an hour an episode, was perfect for this, because it really did cover everything. And during the documentary, it kind of covered a lot of things that I had myself and my pal Adam, especially regarding, like, the AJ match, like, what did they say? It was the Unholy Trinity.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, like, I remember, like, the build up to that, like, myself and Adam, we were always going, what is that? And we were going, right, so it's a Kane. Do you know what I mean? And then, like, we were like, and is it going to be like, say, Undertaker, or maybe Kane's going to make an appearance? Because you always knew the looking Gallows was going to be there. And then, like, the joking one was, I always said we'd have spit it off Paul Bearer somehow. Be there as well, like, something like that. And that was going to, because that was like those other two people were kind of like Undertaker's kind of clique. Like, he joked about maybe going, oh, maybe like like Viscera or somebody would fucking come and help him out, and I'm like, no chance. But when he answered that himself, like I thought that was really cool to be like, it was the American Badass, it was the Undertaker, and it was myself. So like having all those kind of things, seeing like his family life with his daughter, his wife, and all that was fantastic. The one thing is, boys, answer this: where was his son? Is he dead or something?
No.
I don't know, dude.
A lot of his daughter, but not his son from his first marriage.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it was a messy kind of segment in his life.
Yeah, I'd say they probably made a conscious effort to brush that under the rug a bit because.
But to be fair, I think this is going back to what Rich was saying. I think this is the documentary we did need because, like, there was talks of his family in this as well, and you'd never heard anything about his actual, like his personal family, how many kids he had, things like that. You kind of knew through internet and so on and so. But it was little things like that you got to really, really see behind the curtain. And I even felt personally 5 episodes was too little. If you know what I mean, you could have 30-year career, you could have put a lot more in if you went 10 episodes in. But that's just the fan wanting more. But yeah, I agree. I think it's just fantastic. Some solid deep stuff in this. Like,
I mean, how cool is it seeing like him in with all the other wrestlers behind the stage? And I mean, obviously it's Undertaker, so everyone is going to have a lot of respect for this man. But it was how casual and jokey he was with the guys as well, especially like the kind of younger guys. You'd get it like if it was like some of the older kind of the bigger names, like they've worked with him quite a lot. But when you see them with like people he's not really working with, and he's backstage just having a laugh, like moments like that, I think really kind of added to the documentary, which was really needed. And once again, it showed it wasn't just a character; it showed you the actual man, kind of thing. And he's like, yes, he is all business. Hence why when Vince was like jump, he'd be like how high. But it showed you once again that like this more relaxed side of this guy. He's like us. He's willing to have a laugh with the boys and girls backstage. I thought that was a nice little touch as well, just to be. When you seen, I think it was him and Roman Reigns, and they were joking at the hotel check-in point.
Yeah.
It's just small things like that added to my touch.
So episode 1 was it was the Brock Lesnar episode, wasn't it? Because I watched episode 1 when it came out first, so then I watched the 4 on Tuesday. So the episode 1 was when he had a concussion and went to hospital.
Yeah.
I think that showed off what a lot of us didn't see, where Vince McMahon, you could see how much respect there is between the two of them and how much he actually cared for the Undertaker. Whereas you know Tubbs, Rich, we've heard some fucking horror stories about Vince McMahon, and there's some awful shit going on around there.
It seems, Brian, that there's a select few that Vince really, really holds close to heart.
Yeah.
And I think Undertaker is at the top of that pile. Like,
but the whole Vince leaving WrestleMania once he heard fucking Undertaker was in a bad way, and was it Stephanie or Shane? I can't remember. One of them was saying he never ever leaves WrestleMania for anyone. Yeah. So that was a massive revelation to me to hear.
And Brock, dude.
Yeah, Brock too, obviously. So what did you think of that whole dynamic there of Brock getting the streak and Taker? Like, I didn't know at the time during the match that he was actually knocked out, and he didn't know.
Yeah, I had heard of, like, obviously, you watch it, and when something big like that happens, the streaks ended, you spend an entire week down the rabbit hole of like podcasts and interviews trying to find out, like, because he didn't look himself. He looked shook coming, leaving, all right, about 10 minutes into that match and onwards to the end, he didn't look like the same Taker. Now, as a fan, you could have been thinking, they played this off to make it look like he was a shell of his former self. But I think if you've been a fan for a long time, or if you've followed how wrestling works, you get clever. Like, and I think me, Brian, and Rich are savvy enough to, kind of not get pulled into all the the story arcs of it and stuff, and just kind of know what's real and what's not at times. Sometimes we don't, but other times we do. But I think that was one for me when it happened. Now, was I happy the streak ended? No fucking way. Genuinely wasn't. For me personally, look, it made sense on paper. Brock was the guy to beat Taker, and I know Taker had void at one point for Brock to be the guy, and then Vince decided to pull the trigger. But watching the story arcs that he went through with Shawn Michaels and Triple H, like, either man would have been fitting to end that streak, and it kind of makes more sense to me as a fan, because he actually says it to Michaels, if you remember. Later on in this documentary, that, like, you got out at the right time. I wish it was me. I wish the roles could have been reversed.
Just to stop there for a second. Now, we're not going to go down the streak rabbit hole, but for me, the best person to end the Undertaker streak was Edge, because he was also undefeated at the time. So for him to beat the Undertaker and then continue that streak, I think would have been the best course of action if it had to be ended.
Wasn't there a list of folk who were actually, once again, the whole social media, what is true, what is bullshit, but there was actually a list of people who were actually given the opportunity, and I know like Batista and that were offered it, and everyone just kept declining it. I'm pretty sure Edge was on the list.
Edge did turn it down.
Like, he was like, everyone turning it down.
Yeah, so Kurt Angle was one of the things on that list.
But I don't think Edge was the right person.
I don't know. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day.
I think it's because, Brock was the guy to do it. And then I agree that it's that one thing where you kind of find yourself going, oh, but I would have preferred him. And it becomes speculation to the point of actually outside of the realm of what actually happened. It happened. It was a split divide. If anything, people weren't happy, people were. But, it happened when it happened. And some could make the call that maybe he should have walked away then. I don't know. I mean, yeah, maybe. But it's a hard one to call. But, look, I mean, as I said, this documentary was filled with a lot of legends telling people this isn't easy to walk away from, You get the pop of that crowd and don't
it's like a drug.
Yeah, and it is, man. It's an adrenaline drug, and I think that's what this documentary showed us in general. Was it wasn't the Taker going, oh, I don't want to go because I'm the Undertaker. I think it was the dragon, the circuit. He found himself in a circle and was chasing that dragon. And like Ric Flair, same with Ric Flair, you can keep circulating back.
Like, how many times did Triple H mention that exact saying?
Can I just say one thing?
Dragon. Yeah, go.
Triple H in this documentary, every time he opened his mouth, nothing but wisdom spun out of it. I thought he was genuinely one of the MVPs of this documentary for how he articulated his words, how he, spoke about the Undertaker in such fondness, and also kind of held him up here about, like, Mark, you need to walk away, but he's not listening. And it also showed how strong of a bond these two actually ended up with, like by the end of where it went, which I thought was just really cool, man, to see, and I think it goes back to Triple H from, as again, going back to the stories we hear on the internet and stuff, how much bad shit you've heard about Triple H. But then you look at all of this and you see, Jesus, he's doing a lot of good shit for the industry, like, you know what I mean? So it's crazy.
I think the problem is, like, everyone likes to shit on Triple H because they don't like him as a wrestler. But, like, remember, like, when I said to you guys last week is like the whole return of Shawn Michaels, like, Triple H is one of the safest wrestlers ever, and he actually respects the business, like, a lot. Yeah, like, he has put himself over quite a good few times, but then he respects the business so much that he's created a whole other thing with NXT that allows these underdog characters to get their foot in the door, to work their way up, kind of thing. So when you hear someone like that high up in the company, like Vince, and he's actually saying, like, all these humble things again with Undertaker, I personally believe he's not just saying it to put himself over. it's all legit, like kind of genuine things that he is meaning all these things to Taker, and because you hear like Taker talking about Triple H as well, and he's like didn't he like invite him to his wedding, kind of thing.
Taker was the guy that Triple H went to about Stephanie McMahon when they first started dating, and Taker said, "Yeah, fuck those guys. You do what you want."
But then he was like the locker room leader. You know what I mean? Like you'd respect that kind of thing. And I think like when you watch like Taker, like for everything that he has done for that business, and up to this very moment, you know, like there was that segment where like have you got your stuff? We want you on Raw tomorrow, and he was like, no, right, I'm gonna have to fly home to grab my bag to fly back. You know, for it kind of thing. It just shows you like what Taker is willing to do for that company, and I think once again, like Triple H respects that, and it's not like he wants all his wrestlers to do that, but it's just like you win over people with that kind of attitude and being like, once again, what was that favorite line that Triple H used to like to say was best for business, and that's what Taker would always do, is what was best for business.
Do you know what I did love? Going back to what you were saying there about, you know, like Taker flying home for his gear because Vince wanted to put him on Raw the next night. Did you see the conversation with the two of them in Gorilla when he got back? And he's like, "You forget your gear," and he was like, "Well, you didn't book me." It reminded me of a kind of conversations like me and Brian would have at times, where like you'd rip you'd be slagging the shit out of him, and you'd be a little salty, but it's all fun and games, Chuck. No, it's
salty with me?
No. I just mean in general, you know, like when you have those things that were like, oh man, it's kind of like I'm one of the days Brian came to collect me, and I'm like, yeah man, I'm coming out. I was like, thing was 15 minutes coming up to the car, and I was like, I'm so sorry.
Anyway.
See, salty, but you know what I mean. But it's all in good fun. That's what it felt like. It felt like just two mates, you know, like ripping, you know, the piss with each other, like, which was really good. I mean, that's what I think this documentary was, man. It was just, it was very real in a lot of ways, and that's what I think I love. And Brian knows this. I'm a wrestling documentary head. Like I watch everything I can get my hands on. But this one felt special in a few ways, because it was just a character. Because even like the likes of Shawn Michaels is one of my favorite wrestlers, but I think I've seen like 4 or 5 documentaries on Shawn. I've seen, you know, a load of behind the scenes. Everyone you can think of is kind of more or less at this point nearly got a documentary or a shoot interview or, you know, something like that. There's very little of Taker, and I think that's why I appreciated this a lot more, was because you didn't just get to see like, oh, he wrestled this match and he did this match, and oh, this is, you know, the streak. You got to see the confines of a man very conflicted near the end of a 3-decade career, which, you know, and to see him get emotional and on in points, man, you know, it was really good. Like,
I think the main thing of this documentary was it was putting that answer to everyone and shutting a lot of folk up. Why isn't Taker just calling it a day? And that's what this documentary was answering.
100%.
Because everyone keeps going, I think, Brian, don't you always want the Tubbs? I wish Taker would just fucking call it a day, kind of thing. You know, like, how many years have you said that? I know I've been saying it for many years now, and we're not the only people. A lot of people have been saying this. And I think this is the main reason for this documentary, is why Taker has not called it a day yet. Especially when you look at the kind of the Saudi Arabia matches and all the other matches that were really poor. Like, you're like, call it a day, mate, call it a day. But this documentary actually was explaining why he hasn't been calling it a day. I think that was the main purpose of this documentary, and it's what we all really needed as wrestling fans to understand why he was continuing and being very 50-50. His matches were going either they're going to be really good or really shit, kind of thing. So you were always conflicted to why he was still wrestling. And like, this documentary just kind of really went, right, we've answered that, we've ticked that, kind of thing. So everyone now can shut the fuck up. It's there. It's this man is explaining. It's not Vince. It's Undertaker going, this is it. This is your answers. Now fucking leave me alone and shut up. And I think that was really needed.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of those matches, because I've got some strong feelings about one in particular. But we'll start with the the Roman Reigns match from, it was WrestleMania 34 or 5? I can't
33.
remember. 33, there you go. But I think I couldn't get over how sorrowful Taker was for Reigns, that he left him down and stuff like that. Like, we all know how much of a shit deal Roman Reigns gets from fans and stuff. And even just last week, Chris Jericho on What Culture interview, I think it was singing his praises as well. And it was great to see Undertaker singing his praises from the top of the roof, and almost embarrassed at the match he gave him for Mania as well.
And I think that played into the eventual tag team match down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was to redeem himself, but also to, I don't know, like, have a good match with Roman. Do you reckon? I think that it was really cool. But I know I agree with you. I felt really bad for Roman, because, as you said, you know, he was never going to come out of that match. And at that point in time, that was before he left, before he got sick and everything. So he was on the hate train, like high up on that hate train. So he was never going to come out of this match in any way, shape, or form like being cheered by friends, especially after he beat Taker. You know, that the fans were not happy about it. But Taker even said it when he was in the Rumble before that he just shouldn't have been in there. You know, he knew it physically. He said it when he was training, that he should not have been in that ring. And I think that's why he was so sorrowful towards Roman. And you could see it even later on, in like when you see it, like when it goes to Mania the next year, where he's there and stuff. I think he even goes over to Roman and his wife, and he's sitting down, he's just talking, you know, like mates, you know. And I thought that was really cool, man. You know, but to see someone of Taker's caliber and his mystique and everything else, and to feel, you know, like he needed to redeem, or he needed to apologize, you know, because normally when you have a star that's that caliber, or you know, has that, like, you know, major 30-40 year career, Hulk Hogan, you become a bit of a prick, you know. But to see Taker, he's
always been a prick, to be fair.
No, but even outside of the locker room, he still holds that leader position because he's respectful outside as well.
It's the aura.
You know? It's the aura. It is.
With, like, if you've got like a Taker match, especially on one of the bigger stages, I would say, like the main four pay-per-views, no matter where you are in your career, if it involved the Undertaker, this is going to be one of potentially the matches of your career, because you are going into the ring with a legend, and especially to take, like, say, Taker in WrestleMania, and to have such a poor match. Like, you can understand, like, because you think Taker's at that point in his career now, like many good wrestlers, like himself, you're all about setting up that next wave of talent. Do you know what I mean? So you're wanting them. So it's all about creating that great match with the younger talent, because you're really wanting to kind of launch their kind of career even bigger. Even though Roman Reigns does have a big career and it will become bigger, he never. I think Taker felt so bad because he couldn't give him that one-on-one match with him that people would go back and be like, holy shit, Roman Reigns and Undertaker at WrestleMania. How fucking brutal was that fucking fight? That was fucking awesome. And I think that's where Undertaker beats himself up, because he couldn't give him that. And he felt bad for it, because he wanted to have, like, I think it's his legacy is going to be set in stone. Taker must be up there in the Mount Rushmore of fucking wrestling heads, right? But I think he wanted to have a part of legacy with Roman Reigns' run, to be like, I'm going to fucking catapult you fucking big. This match is going to be amazing. It's WrestleMania. And unfortunately, like, I mean, once you see how beaten up Taker is about it, is you actually feel even fucking, you feel bad for both the guys. Like,
yeah.
Reigns is like, you know what? It's cool, man. Like, I gotta go fucking wrestle you in the ring. But it's like, when you see Taker, like, really beating himself up, it just shows you how passionate of a man he is about that career. You know what I mean? It's not, he didn't feel bad for, like, oh, I put on a shit match. He's like, I let Reigns down. It was about Reigns. It was never about himself. Going like, well, that was another shit match for me. Now I have to redeem myself. It was like I let Roman Reigns down. And I think once again, I think that's something you'll see people who've been in that wrestling career for so long. They don't have that kind of attitude, to be like, I've let that young talent down. It's like, I've had a shit match, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
It was just nice to see Taker have that kind of reaction, but I've let this young talent down.
And the one thing that I will say is, like, because you could even see it, was I think it was in episode 2. It was right after it was. They showed it a few months later. Taker is on like the couch with Michelle McCool watching back the match, and you can see it spinning. That dragon is starting to spin in his head. He's like, I need to redeem this. Like, I have to come back and do something, because that's not how I go out. I cannot go out on my shield with that match. And that wasn't because Roman was shit. It was because he felt he let himself down massively with it. And this is going back to the wrestling thing. Brian and me have talked about this, and Brian knows. I never wrestled on a WrestleMania stage or anything like that, but to this day, and Brian will tell you, I still have that dragon to chase, man. I'm still
#Tubs for WrestleMania.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like, on a serious note, this about me. Like, I've been trying to chase that last match for a few years now, and it just keeps my body keeps going against me, and it's frustrating. So if that's frustrating for me on a basic level, imagine how frustrating it is for the Undertaker on, like, as you said, the Mount Rushmore level.
Do you mind if I rip you on this?
Yeah, go on.
If you can't jump over a gate, how are you going to jump over a rope?
See, this is my point. The brain wants me to get in the ring, but the body can't even jump a gate anymore. So where do I go from there, Brian? Where the fuck does my addict brain go from there? But no, look, I mean, all jokes aside,
2 moves, that's all you need.
But I think watching this documentary in a weird way, I was able to even slightly kind of understand it a little more than most, because I was kind of going, I'm still doing that, and I'm just a guy from Limerick that, like, backyard wrestled for 8 years, but I'm still doing that. I'm still chasing that match.
Yeah, it's the same thing on a grander scale, like.
Yeah, completely, man. It's in it, and it is, and I think it's that thing of just when the body gets older, and you need to. I think up here you need to really, like, you need to.
Your opinion of
You really need to reassess your kind of, like, where you are with it. I mean, realistically, for me, I know I probably won't ever get that match, but my brain is not on the same page. You know what I mean? And that's where the frustration comes from. So when I was watching this documentary, I could see it on fucking such a huge scale. And I think it goes back to when he was talking about, about Ric Flair when they had their Mania match. I think, was it 18? WrestleMania 18, he fought Flair. And he was saying, it's like, when Ric Flair's confidence was gone, and and he was, listen, he was like, but you're Ric Flair, like, what the fuck are you talking about? But I think he was starting to realize what Flair was talking about around this part, about in and around the Roman Reigns section of this documentary, was his confidence was completely gone. He was doubting himself. Because if you remember, I think it was the year after the streak when he was gone out to fight Bray Wyatt. It's Triple H ducked in Gorilla and said to him, like, just remember who the fuck you are. You're the Undertaker, And he said that helped him get through the match, get to the end of the match. It gave him enough to get through it. But he said the confidence was gone. And yeah, once the confidence, and it happens with everything, man. Like, it happened with acting at one point. I with me, I don't know if it was the same for you, Brian, but like, the confidence would dip out at times and then come back. And I think when it's down, you struggle a little more. So to watch a man that's, like, been around for 30 years on the grandest stage of them all, on top of the mountain of pro wrestling, and to have a career that I can honestly say I'll never see, I don't think you'll ever see replicated in our lifetime.
No, not a chance.
To the mystique and to the size of it, and to see him dealing with, regular issues like, like self-esteem and and just, not being sure of himself. That was an eye opener, man. That was really fucking cool. Not cool. It was terrible, obviously, but it was cool to see that someone can be that high up and still, feel the same as you. And I think that was a very relatable moment in the documentary. Like,
well, someone once said to me, "We're all human. We all piss and shit the same." So, he at the end of the day, he bleeds like us. He is one of us, obviously. Mm-hmm. And even when you're at that pinnacle, like, you see how famous actors go fucking mental, and it's the same thing, like, So let's talk about the Saudi Arabia matches.
I knew you were going to get to those, boy.
Can we just declare every match was shit?
Before I go any further, right? Before we get into this, I 100% totally disagree with WWE going to fucking Saudi Arabia in the first place.
Yeah.
But
it's a glorified house show, my friend.
But whatever about the house show stuff, it's what that country is about. But anyway, let's not go there, because that could be another hour's worth of a podcast.
That's next week's video.
So, do you want to start on was it Triple H he fought first singles match?
He fought Triple H
outside, wasn't it?
At Super Showdown in Australia, and HBK and Kane were in both corners. And
actually, he fought Rusev first, actually, didn't he?
Oh, that was the first Saudi show, but the one leading into the match you were on about, the DX versus Brothers of Destruction, that came from the Super Showdown in Australia.
Yes.
And then they had, remember, the four of them raising up their hands at the end, and then Undertaker and Kane turned on DX and built into a match that really should never have happened.
Like, that match would have never taken place on regular WWE programming. No. This was all like not chasing the dragon, chasing the paycheck, if you ask me.
Well, I mean, in a way, I mean, you even heard Shawn Michaels even talk about that, about like he just, I mean, obviously they got paid handsomely for doing it.
Millions, I heard.
Yeah. I mean, there was massive figures attached to what people heard about those matches, but I mean, it just seemed to be those four guys, mainly the three guys, Triple H, Hunter, and Undertaker, seemed to have come out of the Hell in a Cell match with Taker and Triple H. Do you remember that one? It just must have been, they came out of it with some form of bond that I think when the match was pitched, they were like, I know Michaels is retired, but look, fuck it, I'll do it. They're my friends. This could be fun. Now, he was sorely wrong, I mean, just looking at the documentary and the way they were talking about it seemed that was the reason behind it. It just seemed like a cool thing to do with your mates, kind of like we do. You know what I mean? But
you see, like when they made a deal and stuff, and once again, this is like through the internet, and I think it could have been from a Meltzer fucking report. It's like they were asking for Taker, they were asking for Shawn Michaels. Fuck, dude, they were even asking for Yokozuna.
They were asking for Hulk Hogan over there.
No, but I agree. Rich, they actually did ask for Earthquake and Yokozuna.
Do you know what I mean? They are a bit pretty behind in times with some of their wrestling, I guess. So, as much as we shit on basically like Taker being like, why the fuck was he there? I guess when, because that's a lot of dirty money getting thrown to the company and to the wrestlers, banks kind of thing. So, hey, I know the Taker's got shitloads of money. Bills don't stop.
Yeah, that's true.
And when you got a young kid, you're wanting the best for her. And when in touch wood, nothing happens to Taker anytime soon. But you want to make sure that his family, it'd be like you, Tubbs, you got kids. Worst case worse, you want to make sure that your kids and your missus is fully financially secure if anything was to happen to you. Do you know what I mean? So every penny that Taker does is going to obviously help really push, ensure that his family has got a better future. Because obviously, as a parent, you always do that extra push of my life was good, but I want my kids to be better. And I think the more Taker works, the more money that he can have. He can provide that better life. If it's through better education, pick your uni. I'll pay for you to go to that uni. You know what I mean? All these kind of things. So I kind of get it. But I think one thing that we kind of forget is kind of Taker can't put on a mediocre show in the US. He's used to that weather.
Yeah.
none of those guys were prepared to go wrestle in that heat. And it kind of brings me back to remember like at old time. Was it them? I think it was the England football squad before they went to, was it the World Cup? Was it Japan and Korea?
Oh yeah.
And then they all went and practiced in like a gym, windows all closed, like sweatsuits, like full tracksuits on and that, and they had to do their practice in its really hot conditions. And it's kind of almost like Taker and like DX, they should have all been, they could have been, but I don't think they were, because you know the performance you've seen, they should have been prepping like that in those conditions to be like, this is how hot it's going to be, how tight it's going to be, just to get a taste of it. Because I think when they went over there, I think they got a reality check to be like, holy shit, we have to put on this match and see how hot it is. Man, you guys know what it's like, just going out for a run or a walk or and it's scorching hot. It does take it out of you. Could you imagine being in that hot arena in the heat? Like, just think how dry that air is as well. And having
it's not even that rich. You got to factor in the age. You got to factor in, like, Triple H might have maybe wrestled once that year. Before that, Kane was practically retired as a governor. Quietly, Undertaker had only come back as well for a rematch that year. And Michaels had been out of the ring for 8 years, maybe longer. I can't remember exactly.
The funny thing about it was Michaels,
you know,
was out the longest, ended up carrying the fucking match.
And yeah, this is the thing. Michaels ended up carrying that match because Triple H got injured. Kane's mask came off, so he ended up having to kind of scammer off and do his thing. And if you remember, like, even he got his nose busted open and everything in that match. But I do agree, it was Michaels, it was the guy that had been gone for years, ended up having to carry that match. But I think that was the match. Like, I think people look at it and think, oh, it was the Roman match that spiraled Taker into this dragon chasing thing of like, I need the perfect match to call it a day. I genuinely believe it was this match that did that. Like, it, because if you look at it, he had a solid match with Taker, or with Triple H at Super Showdown. He had a solid match, and then the four boys were in the ring. You could have end of era it, do you know what I mean? And you could have called it a day. I think that was the problem. He was like, oh sure, I can go out one more time with my friends and have, you know, this kind of a good match, and I'll be happy. And then it didn't go so well. So then he came back at Mania with Cena, and he was fine, but you could tell he wasn't content because the match was like 3 minutes long or whatever it was. And then it went on to Goldberg.
Let's talk about the Cena one first. A lot of people on the internet, fuck the internet, but anyway, everyone on the internet complained about myself included, about the length of the match. And a lot of it was put down to maybe that's all he can do, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But I was absolutely blown away to find that they only gave him that time, and that he wanted a half an hour fucking brawl.
And to be fair, you saw him. When you saw him at the Saudi show, he was like, he had his gut, and he was in okay shape, but he wasn't in good shape. When he was going into Mania 34 with Cena, he was in some stellar shape. He looked good, and you see him moving in the ring in the training camps and stuff, and he legit like went into like cryo freeze chambers and all to get ready for this match, man. You know, he did some crazy shit for this match, and he got 4 minutes, and you could tell. But I heard that apparently Cena wanted to do this, let Taker take him out fast and everything else. This was what was pitched, apparently, was because he wanted to, you know, let Taker be Taker, you know, come down and just Mania moment. Now, as you can see, he was happy about it, and he shook hands with Cena and everything after, but I don't think he was terribly, this is what I mean about this is the thing about the dragon chasing thing. He got a Mania moment, he beat Cena, there was another notch on the thing, but in Undertaker's mind, I can do better than that. I can have a bigger match. I can't go out on this one. And then that led to the infamous Brian's favourite match ever, Goldberg.
So can I just say, and Rich, you'd probably agree with me here, Goldberg ended Bret Hart's career more or less.
Yeah,
I
fucking hate him.
And he almost killed Undertaker in that match by recklessness. So
I remember seeing that match live.
Before you go on, Tubbs,
What?
can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
Fuck Bill Goldberg. What a shit, horrible human being and a terrible wrestler as well.
Even back in the shit on everyone.
Yeah.
He's doing it for the kids, man.
Yeah.
He's doing it for the kids.
Go and fucking build him a swing in the backyard for him to do something.
No, I agree. I think now look, as I said, it goes back to what Rich was saying as well. You got to factor in the crazy heat that was in Saudi and everything else, and these guys' ages. But at the same time, Bill Goldberg has always been sloppy.
Yeah,
he's always been a sloppy worker.
Like
he was just very overrated, man. You know, that's
because that streak was built up out of nothing. Like,
I mean, I think there was a point where everyone liked Bill Goldberg at one point. He was like, "Oh my God, Bill, jackhammer spear!" Back in the day, in the WCW days, I mean. But when he came into WWE, you know, that mystique was gone. And I know a lot of people said, "Oh, WWE tried to bury him." No, he didn't come in to play nice. He came in with an attitude. He came in and he was Bill Goldberg, the superstar, and he was taking off.
He didn't fucking learn.
No, and this is the problem. He did, and he has worked. When you think about it, the likes of Bret Hart, the likes of Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Undertaker, he's Sting. Do you know, he's Ric Flair. He's worked with so many fantastic legends.
So guys, bump him for a second. He's worked with so many legends. Yeah, he ain't learned fuck all.
Yeah.
No, but that's what I mean is about sloppy and lazy, man. He stuck to the same criteria. It worked for him. It's the thing that got him over. You know what I mean? So why change it?
He was the original Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
I would say no on that. Brock Lesnar is an NCAA champion and an actual decent wrestler.
And I'll be honest,
I agree with
Brian, because I know even in this generation's Brock, we get the suplexes and we get the F5 and the win. But when Brock is allowed to go, we've seen it on these Survivor Series mixed matches against like AJ and Finn and Daniel Bryan. He works. He's another taker in that respect, that he's always had better matches with smaller guys.
Mm.
You know, and I find with Brock is when you let Brock just wrestle, or if Brock is enjoying the opponent he's with, he will go out there and do the Brock of old. Bill Goldberg never had anything outside of his criteria. He's got the same shtick since fucking the 1990s, and it's never changed. And that match against Taker, fuck me, man, what a fucking horrendous cunt. And I don't blame Taker for any of it, man. I really fucking don't. I looking back at the match,
he concussed himself by fucking up a ring post
but
spot.
It's not even that, Brian. He was already busted open before he got to the fucking ring, because he fucking headbutted his locker, remember? And then he went and cracked his fucking head. But that jackhammer.
His intro. How bad that his fucking intro is. That him walking from a locker room. Can we just say that, like, it's how much of a pussy Bill Goldberg is? Now, don't get me wrong. Like, if he came and had a scrap with me, I know he's gonna fuck me up, right? Such a pussy. He needs the security to walk him to that ring.
It's the whole boxing thing. That's what that is.
Fucking pussy.
We should just do a whole episode hating on Bill Goldberg, like, because I could go all day, like.
I genuinely, I mean, I know Taker says, you know, like, it's not Bill's fault, and I've no nothing against Bill, but we all saw the match. You know, Bill fucked up that match, and that fucking jackhammer, you can't even call it a jackhammer. It was a brainbuster suplex, is what it fucking was, and he nearly killed the dude. You know.
Let's take the focus off of him for a second, because he doesn't deserve it. I can see the appeal for Undertaker in taking this match, because two icons of the Monday Night Wars.
On paper, this is a fucking mega match.
Yeah, and Taker, like, as you said, was still chasing the dragon, so this for him was like, whoa, this could never happen again, a dream match. But obviously it didn't go to plan, and stuff happened, and Taker almost broke his neck, and you could see his wife talking about it, Michelle McCool. She was nearly in tears talking about it. And
can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
She was fantastic in this documentary.
Yeah, she really was. Yeah.
She was really good in this. Like, I think it was because at the start in the first few episodes, Undertaker, you could see him. He was finding it hard to open up in front of the camera to really let it all go. You didn't really get it. It didn't really come from his perspective and his side fully until maybe 4 and 5.
Yeah.
But she was really the one, like, just, bringing that emotional element to it. Do you know what I mean? Like, him going in for surgeries, like, the world watches him do a match and then goes about their day while I'm, lying next to him while he recovers. I was going, that's fucking hard. That shit must be fucking hard to watch someone you care about, like, suffering, not even just physically, but mentally, because they're caught in a loop, So it couldn't be easy all the time. I'd say they've had some issues about it in their relationship.
But I would reckon she would understand it a bit more as well, because she's been
She was in the business.
environment.
Yeah,
So-
she was in the wrestling business, so she kind of gets it, But yeah, man, I just thought she was fantastic in it. She looks great as well. I mean, Jesus, I mean, like she made me remember how much I actually missed her in the ring. Like, I actually remember when I went back and watched some McCool stuff. I was going, Jesus, she was really good. Like, on the mic, she was fantastic on the mic as well. Do you know what I mean? So I mean, it's just crazy. It really is, like.
So let's go on to the last match, and
Yeah.
it was the last WrestleMania, obviously just a couple of weeks ago, I suppose now. Well, months ago, because I've lost track of all time in the coronavirus epidemic.
Gotta love the lockdown, buddy.
So it was against AJ Styles. I really, really loved that AJ chased the match
Yes.
and showed like fucking the balls on him, like to go fucking ringing the Undertaker. Not even Vince McMahon, but to get in contact with the Undertaker himself and ask him. And I didn't know either, like their families actually knew each other and stuff as well.
It's AJ's best friend is friends with them or something.
Yeah.
It's just a connection there. But like, I do agree with you on the whole AJ thing. I loved even his reasoning. He saw it on the Steve. His mate rang him up.
Podcast.
It was the Stone Cold podcast when he was on it, and his mate said, "Have you seen it?" And he was like, "No." And he said, "Watch it. He's talking. He might have another match." And AJ was like, his reasoning behind it then was just like, well, like, I'm gonna ring him because I mean, the worst he can say is no, and if he says no, I'll just go about my day. But he said, "I'll get back to you," and then he hammered it home. But then he agreed. And the crazy thing about that whole match is, like, even I watched it. Have you seen the other show that's attached to this documentary? It's called Postmortem. They did 5 episodes. They interviewed Michelle McCool, someone else, Shane McMahon and AJ.
It's like a standard panel show, is it, after each one?
And Shawn Michaels. They interviewed them after each episode, and it was like a half an hour interview from the perspective of that person about the documentary and their relationship with Taker. Really good. And AJ was being interviewed, and he even said it. He was like going like, "Oh man, I would love nothing more than to have that Mania like match with Taker in front of like 100,000 people to just." But he said, he said the goal he had going into this match was never to make himself look good. It was just if he could give Undertaker that match he was satisfied with and happy with. And I think by watching the documentary, I genuinely think that was the outcome that came about. But I think watching how this match came together and just seeing, how like the fact that AJ now is the man, if it goes the direction of that, he'll be the man that'll have the last match.
So let's get the elephant out of the room here, Rich. Tell us what happens at the end of this documentary.
See, you're made to believe this is it for Taker. I mean, like, he openly says that, like, he is very, like, happy with his career now, and like that final match was like kind of like, it's like the cherry on top of the cake kind of thing, like the icing in the whole works. But like, I think like I also think you take in consideration of the personal matter that happened at that time as well. That made him realize that like life is short. You know what I mean? Like, you can only chase this dragon for so long. Do you know what I mean? And him constantly chasing a dragon is taken away from other matters. You know, one thing is death. It's something, it's always going to be there. You can't escape this moment in life. And if you are going to constantly do something just for the sake of it, you never know what can potentially happen. And that was a prime example of kind of chasing the dragon, and then he lost his brother. Do you know what I mean? So I think it was like a balance of a lot of things. Yes, like he probably did it. I believe that was like a solid kind of final match. It wasn't your typical match, but it kind of had aspect of things like on that match, like they kind of the classic kind of buried alive kind of for the Taker kind of thing. It kind of covered that for him. Good ending for him, kind of riding away on his bike. Almost kind of wish it was like like a sunrise or something, you know what I mean? Just kind of get that kind of more classic kind of cinematic kind of vibe.
Riding off into the actual sunset.
Sunrise.
Kind of vibe, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, like because he hasn't said this is my last match, and I think what the problem is, it's we'll just put it out there, is the Ultimate Warrior. He made that fine statement, never say never. Never. He was never going to come back to WWE. He was never coming back. And he openly says, never say never. And I think that's what Taker's just like, you know what, right now, I'm happy. I'm going to go fucking live my life. I got a nice fucking place, a lovely family, all this kind of stuff. I don't need wrestling right now. Everyone gets an itch.
Like, I mean,
You'll get it.
Go on, Brian.
Personally, I think he's going to want to have his last match in front of a crowd. I don't like sitting there watching him. I don't believe him straight out. I don't believe he's content. I think the coronavirus fucked him. Like that match with AJ in a ring in front of a packed WrestleMania crowd. Yes, that could be perfectly fine as a last match. But and on another point as well, like working the cinematic matches, he found that very hard. He said himself on his body that the constant stopping and starting is not good for you because he has to be kept warmed up, as he mentioned several times going through it. So
we know that from doing the acting.
Yeah.
You know, when you got to do an intense scene and you got to redo it again and take breaks, it adrenaline wears off, man, and you're sore. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
But like he's going to get that Hall of Fame call as well, obviously, in the near future. And when he does, he's going to be in front of a crowd of fans again who are all going to be shouting at him, one more match. And of course, it's going to be in the back of his head. Maybe I can have one more match, you know? That's the way I think about it.
I agree with both of you. I agree with Rich that I think the near catastrophic event with Goldberg really played on his head and kind of made him kind of think, Jesus, you know, I came close. You know, this is starting to get a bit dangerous, like, you know, because, you know, he's got the wife and the kids to think about. But I think it also goes down to family. His daughter and Michelle and his brother passing away, which it was crazy that it happened the night before a Buried Alive match.
And he still went ahead and went.
The timing was so, but that just goes to show you the wrestling's mentality, man. Do you know what I mean? Wrestlers' mentality is the show needs to go on. You know what I mean? But I think I do agree with Rich. I think there could be elements of this that have made him see that there are more important things now. And I've done everything I can do. There's not really much more I can do outside of Hall of Fame induction. But I do also agree with Brian, and I wish I didn't, but I do. He's probably going to have that match next year if it's in front of a crowd against AJ to get that proper one, because they've both kind of hinted at, AJ's definitely hinted at it. It was like, if I could have that one match in front of that crowd, you know. I hope this was his last match. I really do. I think, I mean, me personally, I don't know how you feel about it, but I really enjoyed the match. I thought it was It was very different. I love the style of it. And come here. I mean, you've had a string of bad matches before that one. This one's a much better match. This one's the one that, like, if I was in that mindset, I'd be like, I could hang it up on that, because that was good, and AJ made him look fantastic. But there's one thing I did say, or was saying that Rich mentioned, was when he was saying, I was listening to the words he was saying, that he has no desire to step back in a wrestling ring right now.
Now.
Yeah,
right now. But he also did say, he'd always come
in case of emergency, break glass.
In case of emergency. Now, I don't know if that means appearance or what, but they did also show footage of him in the performance center. And he did say in his last kind of bit that he feels that he can do more outside of the ring rather than inside the ring at this time. So what I'm wondering is, like, he'll probably still have that one match. It'll be kind of like Flair did with the induction and the match that one weekend. He'll probably have the match at Main and the induction the same weekend. But he's pretty tight with Triple H and Shawn Michaels. I could very well see him being like a head coach down in NXT.
Tubbs, a question for you, right?
Yeah.
You alluded to yourself during this chat.
Yeah.
So, a scenario for you, right? You get to have your last match, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your dream match. No one's there to see it. Is that enough for you?
Well, to be fair, there was barely anyone there to see half.
No, but no, I'm just a hypothetical, right? If you could have a massive crowd.
I would say no. An easy no.
Yeah.
You know me pretty well, Brian. And I think I think this time round I would need the crowd.
Yeah, because, like, if you have that match, right, and there's no one there to see it, your hypothetical crowd, right, and then a year later, someone says, "Okay, Tubbs, it's time for your coming out of retirement match." Would you say, "Sorry, I'm retired"? And the fact that you hesitated answers straight away.
You know me very well, and you know what I'm like. My mind would jump straight in.
Yeah.
You know this. I would be all over this. I'd be like, yes, I can do it, Brian. I'm telling you I can do it. But would my body follow through? That's the question.
But this is where I'm bringing this. Like, the Undertaker, his body probably says no, but his brain...
Yeah, do you know, I think you're right, man. Because
I'm just using you as an example. No, apologies.
And here's the thing. I haven't wrestled since 2006. Okay, that's 14 years ago, and it's still in my head, like daily, that I'm gone. I could do it. I could work out. I could get back in shape, and I could do it. But the question,
you can jump back.
But see, I think, like, I'd love to be logical about it and kind of go, like, oh yeah, I know I wouldn't be able to give the matches I gave before because I'm 38 years old now. But this is a crazy beast, Brian. This mind that we all have.
Logic goes out the window when your heart is leading you. So
yeah. So this is. I think you're right. I think I come back for that one more.
So yeah, I think Taker will probably do the same.
Yeah.
So to finish us off here as we head for the 1 hour mark, our longest episode ever. A final thought on Undertaker? Either one of you. Feel free to take the
mic. Rich.
Right. Obviously, I've openly said, like, I've never been a huge fan of Undertaker. Not because he's a bad wrestler or anything. It just so happens that there's been people at the time who I preferred when I watched wrestling. Watching this documentary, though, has changed my opinion on the man. Like, I think he's a fantastic guy in and outside the ring. I think he's still got, when I say this, he's still got a lot ahead of him in his future for WWE, but that's outside the ring. He's got so much knowledge. How many years? 30 years at least?
Fun.
Early 90s.
This is what I was actually thinking about it as you said that to me, Brian, about the last match thing. Survivor Series this year marks his 30th anniversary from his debut.
With the 30.
I wonder, will that be the event he goes out at?
I would say it would have to be a Mania.
Has to be a Mania.
But then again, does it? I mean, that's a significant date.
I suppose.
Do you know? Now, I could be completely wrong. Maybe I'm kind of just thinking outside the box on this one, but yeah, I don't know. Final thoughts on Undetaker anyway. I just think I don't think there's ever going to be a storyteller like him. He was a very unique guy regarding like how he redefined that character for 30 years. You know, how he managed to take it from, purple eyeliner to, the Holy Trinity that we got at the very end of this match when he like completely rolled out all three. I just think his career's never going to be replicated. I think he's as Rich said, he's up on the top of the Mount Rushmore of wrestlers. His career is completely and utterly stamped. His legacy, he could have 10 bad matches in a row now, but I don't think his legacy is ever going to be tarnished that badly, because I think it's already been set in stone. So I do think that you'll have a Hall of Fame induction for him within the next 2-3 years. I reckon he'll go in. But it's definitely going to happen soon. But I do agree with Rich as well on that one. I think his days are they're not numbered. They are in the ring. But I genuinely think he's going to be either backstage producer or training the younger talent, because he seems to, even the little package they played when he was like showing Randy Orton's debut and Joe fighting Jeff on Raw in the ladder match, and he was all about pushing these guys. And even apparently Vince gave out to him. He was like, "What are you doing?" He was like, "Well, we're trying to build a new generation here." He was making Orton look good in the ring, and I think he's a very given performer in that sense, and I think that's why he became a locker room leader and everything else. There's so many things, and I think it stands to his credit and massive strengths that nobody, regardless if it's in a shoot interview or anything else, has a bad word to say about the man.
Yeah.
And in 3-decade career. So yeah, I think absolute legend is the word to sum him up,
And all that's left for me to say is thanks everyone for watching, and make sure to tune in on Monday night when we'll be chatting about Owen and Bret Hart from WrestleMania 10, and watch all my other videos as well, you fuckers. So we'll see you later. Thanks for coming on, guys.
See you later, boys.
And one thing before we go,
If
you feel that you can take Tubbs on his last match, in the comments, call that fucker out and knock him out. Call out Twisted Ace Tubbs or whatever you
call
fucking
him special guest referee.
Can I just say one thing? Boogie Bop, are you listening to this, man? I'm gonna say.
Call that cunt out and beat the fuck him up.